As is traditional, the Roof of Africa Rally kicked off with the Round the Houses races, which, combined with the time trial, determined the starting order for the racing proper. Heading the big field of Class A machinery was the Porsche Raceco of Stan Illman and Franz Stangl, with Derek Pinoy, Nick Harper and Rob Walk in hot pursuit. By the time the field got round the polo fields, Illman had a commanding lead and was able to adopt a cautious approach to the jumps and mud pools. Behind him, Pinoy was in full flight, trying to maintain an advantage over Craig Draper and Wade Perrin's V8 Raceco. Veteran off-road racer Linton Draper was in his usual spectacular form, with Corian Gorbeni alongside to read the route schedule. After the allotted 3 laps, Illman and Stangl took the checkered flag and headed for the 30-odd kilometre time trial.
And that's it. Race 1. Stan Illman and Franz Stangl from Carrera Motors.
By comparison, the battle for honours in Class B made the Monaco Grand Prix look like a tea party. The Chepek team held the early advantage, but Bahrain was in a determined mood, and his Golf-powered Mighty Mag had the advantage on the tarmac. Out of camera range, the Mighty Mag took the lead, but the Chepeks aren't the type to give up without a fight. But Bahrain put the Porsche to the post. Although Italians John Rowe and Andrew Davies were further back, their antics were no less spectacular, as they kept their position ahead of Richard Schilling's Motortech Raceco. Behind Schilling there was more Class B action, with Max and Joan Moore only just ahead of the similar cars of Leon Botma and Richard Everingham. The production category was the last car race of the morning, and initially Reinecker held off Cliff Barker and Malcolm Joubert as the Nissan Sari stormed into a commanding lead. Next up was the turbo Toyota Hilux of Cassie Coetzee and Richard Leake, as Barker used the ample V8 power to pass the Land Cruiser. Others seemed intent on entertaining the huge crowds that turn up each year. Stewart Fritz and Hofmeister Harolds overcooked a corner in style, but weren't about to stop and complete a 3-point turn. Coetzee picked up his pace on the final lap and almost clipped the Turbo Sani in the dash to the checkered flag. Quad racing is spectacular, and this is what the fans wait to see. Once again, Vickers van Deventer stole the show aboard his Jojo Tanks Yamaha Banshee, as Paul Breckel on the new Phillips Rotax and Yamaha-mounted Derek Johnson did the chasing, ahead of hard-charging Kevin Pereira. This year there was a new route for the time trial, which started from Lance's Gap and finished on the TY Road. Herman and Karl-Heinz Silwald set the pace in their V8 Raceco, as Rob Walk chased his dust cloud. Needing to top up with oil, most would stop, but Draper and Gorbeni felt that less time would be lost if it was done on the move. Further back, Nardus Alberts and Peter Mathieu were fighting a cat-and-mouse duel with the single-seater Raceco of Richard Carolyn. Carolyn then ran into problems which lost him over 2 minutes and left him in 10th place. But with 900 kilometers still to go, 2 minutes didn't matter too much. Heading the Class B field was the Chepex crisp-sounding 2-litre Porsche Raceco, while Schilling was not far behind in his new 1600cc single-seater Raceco. While the competitors took advantage of all the power and high-tech gadgetry they could lay their hands on, the locals were quite happy with traditional horsepower. Or is that donkey power? Woolwich and Vermaak were looking very relaxed at the head of the production category title race and enjoying very vocal support from the local children. Keeping a close watch on the Nissan was Coetzee and Leek, and like the leaders, they were not about to take any chances at this early stage of the race. This was the first roof for Barker's navigator, Malcolm Joubert, and one of his first impressions of the event revolved around the friendliness of the local population. Toyota's first foray into off-road racing with diesel power proved successful, as Andrew and Chris Birkin headed the Class E field in their Hilux 2.8 Turbo. But the time trial was not a good omen for the Bankford Land Cruiser crew. An early misfire left them struggling, but fortunately it soon cleared and they picked up the pace. Special vehicles seem ideally suited to the time trial, and the Silwards led by a minute after the first day of competition. The Class B cars of Chepek and Bahrain surprised a few people by taking the next places. Any vehicle with a very short wheelbase, narrow power band and relatively high centre of gravity is difficult to control, but it's second nature to the country's top echelon of quad racers, led by Van Deventer. Watch how the power's used to float over a rocky section, and how the suspension soaks up the awkward-looking landings, as Johnson makes it look easy. Herrera found an alternative route past the roughest bits and looked very smooth. Paul Breckel went for the press-on regardless touch, as opposed to Yuri Duplessis' smoother style. Christo van der Merwe headed the single-cylinder 200cc class on his Joburg Yamaha entry, as Edenvale's Skulkberger followed. Van Deventer showed why he's rated as the best quad racer in the country, as he led by over a minute and a half after less than 40 kilometers of racing. The bike category round the houses races were held in the afternoon, and the polo fields played host to some spectacular action, as AGA Panasonic KTM rider Daryl Curtis led 250cc championship leader Alex Valls for the first lap. In close attention were the Lesotho Office Equipment Hondas of Errol Dalton and 1995 250cc champion Graham McLaughlin. Teammate Lance Trethui was chasing hard to keep his championship hopes alive. Seven times King of the Mountain Alfie Cox ruled in the open class race, but had 8 times German Enduro champion Dirk van Zitzewitz chasing him all the way. Lesotho Office Equipment rider Grant Bloomfield had another German, Karl-Heinz Holtz, on a KTM, watching his every move. Some of the closest bike racing is found in the 200cc class. Here, AGA Panasonic KTM rider Jeffrey Voliter fends off a determined challenge from FMF Kawasaki's Clayton Enslin. And Hilton Hayward on the unusual HRD is chased by Rian Finikak's PD Motorcycles Honda. time trials turned out to be a KTM benefit, as the Austrian manufacturer claimed the first 3 places, thanks to Cox, Van Zietsewitz and Curtis, as Hayward did well to claim 4th and lead the 125 runners. Once the time trials had been completed, some were already packing up, but for most it was time to do repairs and preparation of machinery before the impound and nearly 500 kilometers of racing Section 2 the following day. How does one become the king of the mountain? We asked 7-times winner Alfie Cox for his recipe.
Preparation is everything for the Roubaix Africa. For me, physically, you just have to prepare yourself physically. Your training program has to change, because when you're out in those mountains there, the tireder you get, the more mistakes you're going to make, and you're not going to be alert all day. And you know, the Maluti Mountains can catch you out so quickly. You know, I'm not saying that you can go out there and not have a problem, but you've got to be physically in shape. Your mind has to be right, and you know, you must be focused on the race. That's what I try and do.
His first of 2 hat-tricks was back in 1990 aboard a Kawasaki 250. Friday dawned very wet and cold, and the leading drivers were cautious about the day's strategy.